What's the shortest poem ever written? 1 word? 2 words? How about no words at all? Because believe it or not, there's a poem that consists of absolutely nothing, and it changed literature forever. But first, let's talk about what makes a poem a poem. Is it rhyme? Shakespeare's sonnets don't always rhyme perfectly. Is it meter? Free verse poetry throws that out the window. Is it just being written by poets? Well, I get secular pretty quickly. Truth is, poetry is kind of like art. We know it when we see it, but defining it precisely, that's where things get interesting. So let's start with some candidates for the shortest poem. There's this famous one-word poem by Aram Saroyan from 1965, Light. That's light, with an extra G and H. Saroyan called it a poem, and it was even published in a Chicago Review. But is one word really a poem? Well, what about this haiku by Ezra Pound? In a station of the metro, the apparition of these faces in the crowd, petals on a wet black bar. That's just 14 words, but it's definitely considered poetry. So maybe length doesn't matter. But here's where it gets weird. In 1950, a British poet named Ian Hamilton Finlay wrote what he claimed was the shortest poem ever. Ready for it? That's it. Nothing. He called it Acrobats, and it was literally just the title with nothing underneath. Wait, if there's no text, how is it a poem? Well, Finlay argued that the absence of words was the poem. The empty space represented acrobats who had leaped off the page entirely. This connects to a much bigger idea in art called negative space. The idea that what's not there can be just as important as what is there. Look at this image. You see a white triangle, right? But there is no white triangle. Your brain is creating it from the set negative spaces between these black shapes. The same principle applies to poetry. Sometimes, what's left unsaid carries more weight than what's written. But Ian Hamilton Finlay's empty poem wasn't even the first. In 1960, nearly 40 years earlier, a French writer named Alphonse Allais published a book called Album Primo Avrilesque. One page was titled Funeral March for the Obscures of a Deaf Man and contained nothing. The joke being, if the man is deaf, what will he hear at his own funeral? Nothing. So now this raises a fascinating question about information theory. How much information can you convey with nothing? See, in 1948, mathematician Claude Shannon proved that even silence contains information. When John Cage composed 433, a piece where musicians sat in silence for 4 minutes and 33 seconds, he wasn't creating emptiness. He was making the audience aware of all the ambient sounds they normally ignore. The silence was full of information. You've experienced this in your own life. Think about a text conversation where someone doesn't respond. The absence of response communicates something. Maybe anger, maybe being busy, maybe you're thinking of what to say. The nothing says something. But here's a really mind-bending part. If we accept that a poem can be nothing, then technically every blank piece of paper is a potential poem. Every pause in a conversation, every moment of silence. The difference between a blank page and a poem might just be intention and context. This is what philosophers call the institutional theory of art. Something becomes art not because of its inherent properties, but because the art world declares it to be art. Now, if we are talking about the shortest poems with actual words, we have some interesting candidates. Muhammad Ali wrote Me, We. That's his entire poem about the transition from individual ego to collective identity. 2 words, profound meaning. But there's this one by Strickland Gillian, Lines on the Antiquity of Micro-Ops, Adam Hadam. Poetry doesn't have to be serious to be poetry. But, mathematically speaking, what is the shortest possible poem with words? Well, that depends on your definition of word. In English, we have single letter words, I and A. So technically, the shortest possible poem with recognizable English words would be 1 letter. Is that a poem? It could be. It's a complete statement about existence, consciousness, identity. But here's what's beautiful about this whole question. It reveals something fundamental about human creativity. We can take literally nothing and make it meaningful through context, intention, and shared understanding. The shortest poem isn't really about length at all. It's about the incredible human ability to find meaning in absence, significance in silence, and poetry in, well, anything. Whether it's Ian Hamilton's Finlay's Empty Page, Saroyan's Liked, or even just the letter I, the shortest poem is whatever makes you stop, think, and feel something new. So what is the shortest poem? Maybe it's the one you just thought of. Maybe it's the pause between these words. Maybe it's... And as always, thanks for watching.